And especially those of us who appreciate Adam Clayton Powell's legacy and keep the faith, baby, always. But those of us who are trying to make some positive change and perhaps want to work in some non-traditional ways to make that happen, how have you historically been able to get past some of the folks who may have put roadblocks in your way who may be the same hue as you?
The gatekeepers, right. Yeah, and you know, one of the biggest frustrations I had was New Orleans, knowing the demographics of New Orleans, knowing the immense poverty. And when Mark Morial was mayor and things, I had a convention in New Orleans. I went to put an office in New Orleans, trying to shake that city in the right direction. It took a hurricane to make it right. After Katrina, they started calling us and said, come down here and form a chapter. Mayor Nagin gave me his cell phone number. Says, go for it, let me know what you need. It took a hurricane. Now New Orleans is one of our best chapters. And we've got $2 billion in HUD construction going on, controlled by 3 black developers in New Orleans, which was a basket case before. And I went down there and I told the gatekeepers, stay out of our way or you're going to end up in Houston. We're not going to tolerate you. And if you try to hit us up, here's the 800 FBI hotline. I will call them and report you. So that's what you do. Use me. You come in here, they want to mess with you. Let me come in here and shout and kick and push them down. Then I'll go back to D.C. They can't mess with me. They can't mess with me. So, in fact, I got to go to Oklahoma City and chew out a Secretary of Transportation and threaten to sue him. But I know what you're going through, and I know the abuse, and I know the gatekeepers, but there are a lot of people who are disenfranchised who will support you because they know a change must come. And yes, we can. Indianapolis was very hard nut to crack. I mean, it's good that I did it there because there was probably no worse place.
My question is in regards to the nonprofit community, where in Cleveland there's a lot of African American leadership. I'm just curious to how the nonprofit community fits into and taps into this whole stimulus and resources.
I think your president's idea was to utilize the nonprofit community to the fullest. And on this energy money, this incubation of these grants to go to train people to learn how to work these green jobs or to form a green business, that money is targeted towards nonprofits. So that HUD money, a lot of that is going to go to the nonprofit community. Now, one thing, our chapter in Chicago, when the stabilization money came out, and I sent a note out to all our chambers, here's a breakdown of all the stabilization money. You know, California was getting $1 billion, Florida was getting $800 million, and so forth. And it was broken down by counties and cities and states. And our guy in Chicago was so sharp, he went down to Springfield, met with the governor's people, and said, where is your Section 3 component and how is it going to be in compliance with HUD? And they started stuttering. In the end, they found out that he knew what Section 3 was, and they hired his chamber, a nonprofit, to be the monitor for Section 3 compliance for the stabilization money. And hopefully that'll carry on into the stimulus package. So there's an example. But job training and community good. There's billions of dollars out there for nonprofits.
Mr. Alford, following on your comment of job training, and from your perspective at the Chamber, is higher education in sync with the needs of minority business and business in general? Are they matching up? What is your perspective on that?
It depends. It's rare. I would say Ohio State University system is doing a very good job. It's a very good example. LSU, after Katrina, the chairman of the board of LSU is a member of the National Black Chamber of Commerce, one of the co-founders of the New Orleans Black Chamber of Commerce. So it is changing its ways. Mississippi University system. Haley Barber is doing a splendid job in Mississippi. Mississippi I knew when I was growing up. Now, California is now. But, yeah, there's the example right there. Yeah, California is the worst. Anything dealing with diversity, California is the worst. That's my home state, man. I'm a native Californian, and it's the worst. I'll straighten it out.
Mr. Alford, you have a remarkable perspective on the field that you are working in, not only national but international. And affirmative action has taken theoretical attacks in the last 10 years, probably especially. What do you think of as the most forceful, most potent line of criticism, line of attack against affirmative action, and what do you think is the best reply to it?
Yeah, propaganda is the worst weapon. People think that it's against the law to have affirmative action. Affirmative action is the law. There is a Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the last time I checked, it's alive and well. And you cannot discriminate, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, you cannot discriminate and utilize federal money or benefit from a federal program, such as being a university that is tax exempt, that's a benefit, such as being a city that is tax exempt, such as being a school, a public school. You cannot discriminate. Now, the interpretation of the rule is you've got to show that you don't discriminate. So you have to have a program. Now, the Supreme Court throws a curve in there that says if you got a program, you got to justify the program. Fine, let's justify it. Last time I checked, I could prove discrimination. I can prove the state of Ohio discriminates in this procurement mix. And the state of Ohio has one of the first states to have a disparity study to support their program. So the propaganda, you cannot discriminate, you must have a program, and affirmative action is good. It's good.
Hi, I am new to the Cleveland area. I'm actually relocating from Seattle, Washington, where it's one of the states that stated racism doesn't exist, and it actually did away with the affirmative action programs. One of the way that we were able to save the black contractors from completely getting wiped out of the businesses when major projects like sound transit, public transportation systems were coming into the towns was because of the federal dollars that were given to those contracts. I guess my question for you would be, who enforces to make certain, because it was the federal dollars that kind of saved the black contractors, saying although affirmative action doesn't exist in the state of Washington, you are getting federal dollars, so you have to still keep the diversity goals. How do you make certain that those are being enforced? Because even though you can show disproportionality and all of those types of things, if it's only in the papers, it goes nowhere. So what are some of the positive things or successes that you've had in actually getting those enforced that you know around?
You've got the people who are going to be affected by that. The businesses and the contractors need some strong backbone. There is no way. Washington is a tough one. I remember when that happened. And our guys in Seattle that's not our greatest chamber. But they need backbone. Now, California, which really started all this mess, California is 53% minority. And if they could only figure out that they could make the mayors and the governors, mayors of all the largest, how does a city of San Diego not have one black business with a construction contract in the last 5 years? How does that happen? You know, and my advice to those black contractors, time to get tough. Now, you got the power of the vote. If you team up with the Hispanic community and the Asian community in California, you're the majority. What's your problem? And I love Congresswoman Maxine Waters. She talks that game. But you go to her district where I have tons of cousins living, and you throw up. You ain't too tough. Not tough yet. You talk tough. Let's be tough. I mean, you got a Hispanic mayor of Los Angeles. You got 3 black congresswomen and 5 Hispanic congresspeople. That's your town. And you can't have a minority program? Are you crazy? I hope I answered your question. It takes will, political will, and courage.